It's time to look into various aspects of language contact. Language contact may be defined as a contact between various languages in the same society or in adjoining societies when especially one language is influenced by the other language. And this usually happens when the speakers of different languages live in the same or adjoining societies, because that makes interaction between them quite frequent, and therefore one language is in a position to influence the other language. And it may be more likely when the speakers of one language have a better or superior social status than others. So the speakers of inferior social status, they are more likely to understand or to grasp, or they would try to learn the language of those people who belong to a better social class than theirs. It may also happen in situations when speakers of two various or different languages interact in a situation or in a geographical area where they do not have a common language. When they do not have a common language, they will try to understand each other's language, and there is quite a possibility that one language would be influenced by the other. There may be various reasons for language contact. For example, increased social interaction because of any reason is a clear reason for this language contact. So there could be migration behind this increased social contact, or any other factor. People conquer other lands. It has been a history of the world. They colonize other societies, sometimes directly, as it happened in previous centuries, and sometimes indirectly, as it is happening in this society, in the contemporary world as well. So colonizations or conquest could be other reasons where people can come into contact with each other, and usually those who have been conquered, they like to learn the language of their rulers in order to get good shares in social life. Therefore, this may become a valid reason of language contact in such situations. Missionaries, those who have the duty of spreading their religion, they take their language along themselves, and wherever they go, they also make people aware of their language as well. Spread of knowledge or the language which carries that power and language is also important. And we could see this, that as English is considered to be the language of knowledge and technology in the contemporary world, many societies are doing individual and collective efforts to spread or learn this language in their societies. Some other reasons include trade and commerce. This has been an important reason of language contact throughout the history. Various delegations coming from different societies, they arrive in different societies and interact with the traders and local people in the market, and therefore there is an exchange of languages as well. We have an era of globalization and communication. There has been an influx of all kinds of technology and communication in recent times, and there is a cliche which is used in the contemporary world, that distances have been reduced. So the world is quite closely connected because of these technology and fast means of communication. Therefore, there is more interaction between various languages, not only because of the physical interactions of various of the speakers of various languages, but also the virtual interaction between the speakers of various languages. So language contact is very much a norm these days. If you look at the picture in front of you, you could see there could be various aspects of language contact. it results into the creation of pidgins and creoles. I'll just talk about them in a while. It results into language shift and language death. It results into diglossia, language maintenance, and language revitalization. It also results into code switching, because when languages would interact with each other, there would be a lot of code switching and borrowing of words as well. There would be dialect contact. Some powerful language, when it comes into contact with another language, it would have a huge spread, as we see in form of the spread of English these days. Let's have a quick look on all these factors. Pidgins and creoles. Pidgin is a variety of a language which is used as a lingua franca. This variety do not have any native speakers, and it arises in a situation where the speakers of two different or more than two different languages do not have a common language to interact with each other. They live with each other for some time, and they create a common lingua franca. And this lingua franca, when it doesn't have any native speakers, would be called pidgin. But when it develops into a language which has its native speakers, and it is transferred from one generation to another, it turns into a creole. But this may not be a quick transformation. It may take centuries sometimes. The transfer from pidgin to creole is a time-taking process. So this may take a lot of time sometimes. We have code switching and code mixing as a result of language context, which is quite natural. We do have borrowing, again a very natural result, because when two languages would interact, they would definitely be borrowing from one language to another. Diglossia is a specific linguistic situation where at least two languages exist in the same society or speech community, and one language has a different role than another, social role. For example, one may be considered as a high status language, and another may be considered as a low status language because of the social functions assigned to them. High status language would be the one who is used to perform important academic and professional functions in the society, whereas low status language would be the one which is used for colloquial purposes in the streets. This may be more popular, used more frequently, but because of the status which has been assigned to the other variety, this may be considered a low status language. If we just look at Pakistani society and the comparison between Urdu and Punjabi language in the areas where Punjabi is spoken as a native language, we see that Urdu has an edge over Punjabi because it is used both in academic and professional circles, whereas Punjabi in the very areas where it is spoken as a native language do not enjoy such status. So it may be considered as a low status language, and the overall situation would be diglossic. There is a language shift if a diglossic situation persists for a long time and language context increases. We may have a chance that people would shift from low status language to a high status language, and that might result into the death of a language. And it has happened to many languages around the world. Language maintenance and revitalization are other phenomena which are associated with the language contact. Language spread and new English, especially in relation to English, we see because of the spread of English language, there are many new Englishes which have emerged in the contemporary world. Then dialect contact is another phenomena. Bilingualism and multilingualism. When various languages interact, we could see that the users of those languages would become bilingual or multilingual, which is quite a resource to keep. So language contact may be sometimes a beneficial process, and at the same time it could be a disadvantage for the low status languages in many societies. So authorities and the policymakers in various societies should keep, especially in multilingual societies, they should keep an eye on the language contact between various languages within these societies.